important piece of other business right now would be the unfortunate incident we had yesterday. Chief, if you could kind of brief the council on what happened and the community again. Thank you.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Council, obviously last night, I'm sure you saw that I spoke to the media regarding the incident. Obviously, transparency is an important thing. We try to get out information as quickly as possible, especially just to put people at ease, but just as an overview for people who haven't seen it. Today is March, 16th? Mm-hmm. So yesterday at 4:30 in the afternoon, our officers were involved in an incident where a 911 caller reported a suicidal male who was in crisis walking up Hanson Boulevard with a handgun, carrying a handgun. Our officers encountered him out in the street, and I assure you they were desperate to avoid an officer-involved shooting. I know people maybe have a hard time wrapping their minds around that, but I would encourage people to think like how an officer would think as they're going there. They're like, boy, I hope this doesn't go bad, I assure you. And they had a couple of different options that they tried to use what we call less than lethal means. We've talked about it in the past at council meetings, those less lethal shotguns that we discussed. Those shoot a beanbag projectile. They were given the need to maintain distance. They were considered the best option at that time to try to separate the man from the handgun. Obviously that failed, and that the officers were obligated to use their firearms. That said, the male, I understand now, was at Hennepin County Medical Center and is working on recovery. And the department, sincerely, this is a person who's a part of our community. We hope he recovers and that he gets the mental help he needs. I could go on and on about sort of those unmet mental health needs for people that are in our community. It just keeps popping up over and over again. Smart people with the ability to make big decisions need to help us. We can't keep having these kinds of encounters with people because we're on our own. The officers are on their own, and it's a challenging situation. And I just want to tell the community too is that obviously you know that the legislature made some changes recently, and which gets discussed about the use of deadly force. Our officers in Coon Rapids have always been trained to this new standard that is a part of the statute, which talks about the sanctity of life. We've always been that way here in Coon Rapids. That's been our ordinary training. We avoid using deadly force as much as we possibly can, and have always done that. And the men and women who work here do a heroic job every day, and they do their best, and when things go south, they take it hard. That said, they're a resilient bunch. I'm proud to be a part of them and a part of this organization, and we're going to be all right moving forward. But, of course, like I said, we'll turn the focus back on this young man who is clearly distraught and clearly in a bad circumstance, and I hope for his recovery and that he finds his way to peace too. So. Meanwhile, the BCA is investigating, so I'm not really at liberty to discuss a lot of details now. That's their investigation, but they're a professional outfit too, and they'll do a great job. So,
absolutely. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you. Chief, could you just briefly talk about some of the proactive thinking that the department has done over the past year about situations like this that cause us to enter into kind of an agreement with Blaine, and how we propose to kind of deal with these kinds of things in the future, and give a little insight to the community on that as well?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Johnson, for that opportunity. Is that, of course, when we go through budgeting process, I'm sure a lot of it, from a citizen's perspective, they get glazed over in the eyes. But small things that are significant that were in this year's budget was what we call an embedded social worker, meaning we have a social worker now that works with us here at CRPD. This social worker, we split 50-50 with the city of Blaine. This person's sole job is to take our citizens that we know who have mental health issues that are undertreated, and we try to target those people and get them the help that they need as best we're able to. It's imperfect, because I assure you, behind every person who experiences a crisis is a family member who's been trying for years to get help for their person. But we just, we can't wait around for somebody else's system to start working. We, in conjunction with the work of the council, agreed that let's try to be a little more targeted and deliberate in Coon Rapids about how we get services to people. And she just started 2 weeks ago, and this is not a person that she had an opportunity to interact with, but it was somebody who was known to us in the police department, and is somebody who that her job will be to intervene and to try to get services and to help the family and do what we can to be a little more deliberate. But there needs to be more on the back end. We can only do so much, because she's not a psychiatrist, she's not a therapist, but we just need to try to get people to where they need to be and try to navigate systems, and with the hopes that maybe the systems catch up to us a little bit. But, you know, we can't just sit around and wait for somebody else to figure out their business. We have to be proactive about it. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to mention that.